What's going on, everyone? I'm Jelli of the Core Enforcers, and I'm here to go over my draft for UBL season number 4. I ended up getting randomized into the 3rd pick out of 8 in my draft pool, which there were 2 of just due to how limited the Galar-Drex draft is. I was actually pretty happy with this because I knew Galarian Darmanitan would be one of the first 2 picks to go, so this basically guaranteed me one of the 2 mons I wanted, being Dragapult or Hydreigon. I ended up getting Hydreigon because Dragapult went first overall, and of course Galarian Darmanitan went second. I would have preferred Drag because it's a new Pokemon, but I'm still really happy with Hydreigon as well. I'm sure most of you know it acquired Nasty Plot, so it's a really solid wall breaker now. Obviously Scarf is still good if its speed tier and matchup without the boost is viable. It also got Dragon Dance, so that could be a fun win condition if I want to run physical and have like Iron Tail to break Spidef Fairies. Speaking of fairies, I got Hatterene next, which provides me with a Dragon and Fighting Switch in for my Hydreigon. Magic Bounce to deter hazard setters from clicking hazards can be really nice as well. It does also have a really low speed tier at 29, so Trick Room is really strong since I can underspeed those base 30s and 35s, which there are a decent amount of, for example like Snorlax, Reuniclus, as well as Toxapex. It does also get Nuzzle, so I can just spread Paras around to help out Hydreigon against mons with a better speed tier. This next pick was really interesting considering what round we're on. I noticed that a Selgor outspeeds the entire draft board, and a lot of the mons with the speed tier below it that are still really fast, like Weavile and Dragapult, were actually already gone, so I figured it might be smart to get this now. It's also just a lot more effective considering the timer rules that we're opting to go with. If my 10-minute timer runs out before my opponents, I actually end up losing the game. So just bringing a Selgor hyper offense every week and winning quickly may be the move. After that, I ended up picking up Mamoswine, which gives me the instant hazard damage that I wanted, besides spikes, and I was also missing a priority option, so Ice Shard is really good. I don't think like Water Shuriken on a Selgor is the best thing ever, so this should be nice to revenge kill lower health Pokemon. A few of the rosters were also really weak to Earthquake spam, so that's something I wanted to take advantage of. It also gives me an electric immunity, so the Volt Switch isn't like the freest click ever against my team. The speed tier is also pretty nice. It forces everything between this and Hydreigon, besides base 95 and 96 Pokemon, to run speed boosting natures. I also wanted a Pokemon with a speed tier in between Hydreigon and a Selgor. U-turn is also really strong considering how Pokemon like Hydreigon and Mamoswine are going to need good positioning to get any kills, and I can't just throw them out with hard switches. Unfortunately, this doesn't get any great coverage beyond Ice Beam and Dark Pulse, so those Water Absorb Pokemon are going to have a really easy time against it, which sort of forces Inteleon to run U-turn and for me to play a bit aggressively. Escavalier is great on this roster because Hydreigon is going to force in a lot of Fairy-type Pokemon that I can take advantage of by U-turning out into Escavalieron. It's also a cool Trick Room abuser if I notice that my opponent is insanely weak to Escavalier's combination of attacks, which does include close combat now. I can just get up Trick Room with Hatterene, then Healing Wish or Heart Switch into this. I also picked Heliolisk, which gives me a speed tier that forces Pokemon between base of 110 and base of 120 to run speed boosting natures. This thing also gets both U-turn and Volt Switch, and it is a Sun abuser thanks to Solar Power. I actually do end up picking up a Sunsetter in a couple of rounds. Normal spam with Hyper Voice could be a win condition if my opponent doesn't have adequate resists. I haven't really looked too much into that regarding the other rosters though. I definitely needed hazard control. I did not want to rely on only Magic Bounce to prevent hazards from destroying my team, especially because I didn't have a grounded poison type to absorb toxic spikes at this point. Braviary with Scarf is also just a really nice cleaner with Bird Spam Brave Bird. It also does get Tailwind, so if I really want to, as I faint, I can set that up, and then something like Mamoswine or Hydreigon can just clean up the rest if they have the opening. Torkoal provides me with that Sunsetter I previously mentioned, and it does also give me another form of hazard control with Rapid Spin, and another Stealth Rock setter, so Mamoswine isn't forced to run that to every single game. There isn't really much else to it. I guess it can lead and click rocks and like click explosion after that. I'm pretty sure it still gets explosion. Obviously I wasn't going to rely on only Heliolisk under Sun. I went Vileplume for the Chlorophyll as well as a grounded poison type to absorb toxic spikes. I hope that I can get at least one Vileplume win this season. We shall see what matchup favors it the most. But yeah, that's the draft. Week 1 goes live tomorrow and I'll see you all then.